Okay, here we are. It's 3 o'clock on the East Coast, 12 o'clock on the West Coast, and everyone in between. Hey guys, welcome to another virtual mentorship session here at the Business Academy. Super pumped to have you guys all a part of it this weekend. I am jumping in from Rochester, New York. Just got off a flight a little bit ago, and hustled over to a coffee shop and wanted to make sure to join you guys today with our guest speaker this afternoon. As you guys know, each one of these Tuesday virtual mentorship sessions, the goal is that we have, as many mentors for you on these calls as possible to open up the conversation from all areas of practice. So the first Tuesday of every month, we always focus on new patients and marketing strategies. The second Tuesday, which is today, we focus around the day one, day two process, getting your patients to yes faster, more effectively for cash services in your office. So we focus on today. The third Tuesday, which is going to be next Tuesday, we focus all around front desk, patient scheduling, patient compliance, patient retention. And the fourth Tuesday, we focus primarily in the area of personnel, managing a team, scaling a company, and entrepreneurial and executive tools that you can use to get better. As we get started today, I just want to do some housekeeping for everyone here. This is a 1 hour or 45 minutes. It might go a little over, might go a little under discussion for all of you guys today. And that's what it is. It's a discussion. I brought on our special guest, Dr. Baljinder Gill, to share with you guys their best practices of what's been working for them in their market regarding how to get patients to yes faster for services that are not covered by insurance. So as we get going, I want to hear everyone's, as we get rolling today, we're going to be asking you guys for what are your sticking points? What kind of services do you offer? How much marketing are you doing? What are patients saying that you keep hitting a brick wall in front of and you can't seem to move them forward? And we'll be challenging each and every one of you to make sure that are you following each process you need to follow to get that patient to yes effectively. So with that being said, what we'll do is I'll introduce our guest speaker today, and then I'll check everyone's microphones, and we'll get webcams on here in a few minutes, and we'll get the discussion started. So hailing from the Pacific Northwest, just north of Seattle, we have Dr. Baljinder Gill, owner and operator. Well, he's not really the operator anymore. He's pretty phase two at this point, but the owner of Symmetria Medical. They have their main location in Marysville, a secondary location, Arlington, Washington, and are on the precipice of launching their third location. And that's just the beginning. So not only a multi-practice owner between him and his wife, Dr. Loveling Sammer Gill, but they have an incredible team of doctors, naturopaths, of closers, of administrators that have really been able to serve their community at a high level. And it's no small part to the training he's done, the experience he has, and the systems that he's implemented in his practices. So we'll go ahead and do a mic check with Dr. Gill here. Dr. Gill, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate this. Maybe you can share a little bit about your story with the Business Academy briefly. And, you didn't start off with 2 going on 3 clinics. You didn't start off in phase 2 from day 1. You were in the trenches for a while, but you would tell us a little bit about your journey over the last 4 or 5 years with Symmetria and with the Business Academy.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, it felt like I was never going to get out of the trenches. I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. I know you kept pushing and saying phase 2, and I kept saying it's impossible. There's no way somebody can replace me in the clinic, right? I bet a lot of you feel like that. There's no way someone else can do what you're doing in the day-to-day there. It was in 2019 when we had Ethan come out for our first IOD. And I tell the story all the time where it was about a month before the scheduled IOD, we almost canceled it. We didn't have any money. We couldn't even afford to fly him out to us, and we were willing to take a loss on the fee that we already paid to TBA. And we felt like we were a mess. There were no systems. There was nothing. We're like, what's this guy going to come do? It's all a mess. There's nothing for him to train us on. And we ended up having him come out. And that year in 2019, based on the systems, the training from TBA and what Ethan implemented in our clinic, we added $1 million in revenue that year, added $1 million in revenue from the previous year. Previous year, we did about 700,000. And since then, every single year through COVID, our revenue has gone up. And that's in a nutshell our story with TBA. And that's, our team members, everybody, we put all of our lead team members through TBA training courses. We take them out there, consistently flying them out. Yeah, it's an expense, but it's something that you have to invest in if you want to be able to grow and have multiple clinics and scale. There's no other way around it.
That's awesome. And you see, you guys can't do it alone. As you mentioned, you have a team you've invested in. People have come and gone, but core team members have really stepped up. And you've gotten a tremendous ROI on the investment you made with them. And you have new team members every week and every month coming on board, growing with the practice. And so has your network of clinics. And I'm just super pumped for today because your practice is no part of what fuels any business is cash flow and revenue. And collections are the lifeblood of any practice. And in today's, we know in today's market, in today's healthcare space, there is reimbursements are going to keep getting less, coverages are keep getting worse. And if we want to really serve our patients, we have to do so outside with services that are outside the network of typical big five insurance companies. And while you guys aren't 100% cash is a big part of what drives the revenue of your business. So maybe you can share a little bit about the services that you guys offer as an integrated clinic, and which one of those services are primarily cash.
Yeah, so we do the regenerative medicine, the stem cells, right? That's obviously cash. So we do stem cells, we do VidiPure, PRP, all three of those based on what the patient needs, what type of joint we're working on, severity. We do a decompression program, 10 weeks, combined with, it's 3 times a week for 10 weeks. Laser, decompression, rehab, chiropractic. If they need trigger point injections, those are included, bracing, all of that. And so that's a combination plan where if they've got great insurance coverage like Boeing or something, it'll be $3,000 out of pocket. If there's no insurance, it's about $6,000 out of pocket for the 10 weeks. We do neuropathy with NeuroCare or neuropathy laser boots. You guys have probably seen those around. We do injections with that as well with VidiPure or PRP. That's cash-based. Let's see, metabolic nutrition program. That's all cash-based. $6,000 for a 5-week program. We've got the Invisired machine as well. And so they do that 3 times a week. I think that's all for the, did I miss anything you did?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And now let me, with that being said, we're gonna dive into a few questions. I'm gonna check everyone's webcam here and microphone just to make sure, because this is gonna be an interactive conversation with all of you guys today as we dive into it. Hey, Rachel, what's up? Waxahachie in the house.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Is Michelle there with you?
Michelle just stepped out. Dr. B's right here.
All right, there he is.
Come say
All
it.
right, so
Yeah, Doc.
awesome. Rachel, go ahead and introduce yourself, your position, and where you guys practice.
All right, my name is Rachel. I'm with Complete Health Medical Center. We are in Waxahachie, Texas, as you can tell from our accent. We do all sorts of different things. I am the patient care manager. We, of course, do the regenerative medicine. We do neuropathy, BioT, IV therapy, allergy testing, weight loss, and of course, traditional chiropractic and decompression.
Awesome.
I'm probably missing something, but I think
You got a bunch in there, Rachel. I'm going to keep the introductions going. Appreciate that. Thank you. You're loud and clear. Awesome. Hey, Doris, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, position, and where you guys practice.
Hi, I'm actually Renee. I'm using Doris' computer.
Awesome. Hey, Renee.
Hey, she's actually my boss. So this is actually my 4th week. So she thought it would be great if I got on this training. So I don't know if I can answer all of your questions, but after listening to Dr. Gill, I mean, we offer all of those services actually.
Awesome. Beautiful. Awesome. Good to have you here, Renee. Newark, Delaware in the house. That's great.
Thanks.
Okay, Compass Medical. Go ahead, Compass Medical.
Hi, this is a new computer, so I can't quite figure out how to get the video to work. I don't know where the camera is. But I'm Veronica. I'm actually just became the production manager and case manager over here. I originally started as a rehab tech. So just like Dr. Gill, we pretty much do all of that. We do stem cells, regenerative medicine, neuropathy, traditional chiropractic, decompression, weight loss. And we've actually just started IV vitamin therapy. So That's going to be a fun one to see how that turns out for us.
I love it. That's great. Good. Now, just for the sake of time, guys, let's do a real rapid fire 10 seconds intro. Jen, all right, at the Fixed Medical in the house. Hey, Jennifer.
Hey, Ethan. So we're the Fixed Medical. We're out of Tucson, and we're an integrated clinic as well. And I have Megan with us here today, too.
Hey, Megan. Good to see you again. Awesome. All right, Dr. Joe T, my man, get renewed.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Dr. Joe Taylor, Renewed Wellness here in West Palm Beach, Florida. We're an integrated office as well. Chiropractic, regen, weight loss, spinal decompression.
Beautiful. Awesome. Okay, Deep, go ahead and just check your mic there and give us a quick introduction.
Hello, my name is Deep. I'm the case manager at Advanced Toro Health Clinic in Baltimore.
That's right. Awesome. Good to have you here. Perfect. And Jessica, go ahead, Jessica Edgewater.
I literally just got on, so I missed the whole beginning of this.
You did part of Jessica from Coastal Integrative, and where you guys practice in your position?
I am case manager.
Yes, excellent. And you guys are on Edgewater, Florida. That's right. Good. Got Teresa, Dr. Noble Thomas, rapid fire. Hey, Renee. All right, Noble Thomas, go ahead, sir.
Hey, good morning, or not good morning, good afternoon. Car Wellness Care in New York and Westchester. We're looking to be integrated, so we're bringing someone on in about a month or so. So car care, acupuncture, massage, and then looking to do regen and all that good stuff.
Beautiful, excellent, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Fortunato. I want you to go ahead and give a quick intro.
Indianapolis, Indiana, chiropractic and decompression.
Heck yeah, awesome. Is that Kelly there with you?
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly, awesome, cool. Hey, all right, Southwest fam, Kelsey.
I'm Lindsay, I'm our case manager, and then this is Mallory, she's our production manager, and we're in Mesa, Arizona.
Hey, Mallory, good to see you again.
Hey.
Hey, awesome. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Let's go to Olivia Stackhouse. Why don't you go ahead, Olivia? Olivia. Okay. Hey, Daryl's on the line. Hey, Daryl, why don't you go ahead and say hi to everybody? Daryl from TBA. All right, we'll get Daryl there in a second. Awesome. Okay, Marie, go ahead and just introduce yourself, Marie, and where you're practicing from in your position. Okay, I don't have Marie yet. All right, we got Dr. Kevin Holden. Dr. Kevin Holden, if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself and pop that webcam on if you can. Oh, there we go. Oh, still on mute.
All right, hang on. How's that?
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, Dr. Holton, I'm in New Jersey.
Good to have you on board, my friend. Long-term TBA rock star and member. Good to have you on board here. Excellent. Good. And then we got Daryl with Dr. Oh, it's a different Daryl. I'll let you guys. I think you're frozen there. All right. Good. Anybody else? And Greg. We have one more. Greg on the bottom there. Greg, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Pop your webcam on there if you can. Go ahead, Greg. All right. Greg. Okay. No, Greg. Okay. All right. So we got all of our introductions out of the way. Again, this webinar and conversation is for you guys. I'm super pumped to have you on board for today. And let's get started. So, Dr. Gill, let's start the first question, and I want to go ahead and do some round robin with questions here today. Maybe you can share a little bit about what the first step, for practices that are maybe still in network. They're afraid to offer services that aren't covered by insurance. What would you tell that doctor or chiropractor, maybe who's afraid to offer anything else that's outside of what an in-network provider would cover?
Yeah, the very, very first step, you mentioned it very briefly there, being afraid, right? You got to look at yourself in the mirror and be able to say to yourself, the services that I offer actually help people and they're beneficial and they are worth it. You got to be able to say that, right? You got to believe that. And then once you have that confidence, show that confidence throughout that patient interaction. And even if it's not you, every single person on your team needs to show that level of confidence. And first you approach it with nobody that cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So starting with your marketer, whoever's scheduling the new patient has to have that confidence of, we offer great service, we get people better. Some things will be covered and some things won't be covered. And we're going to go over that with you. Setting that up on that first call. Okay, so they're not surprised when they come in. Setting that up on the day one when they're in the appointment saying, we really hope we can accept you as a patient. We've seen patients just like you, hundreds of them with the exact same thing you're here for, and we're able to help them. Your next visit, we're going to go over everything. We're going to go over insurance. We're going to go over what they cover, what they don't cover. We're going to go over your treatment plan, and we're going to do everything we can to get you better.
Talk about, this is a good point. Talk about, if you can, and I'll take some questions here in a second. Let's talk about the day one for a minute. The way the day one is framed with your case managers, with your doctors and providers, is very much framed from the standpoint of if you're a candidate for care.
Yeah. Why
is it framed that way? Tell me a bit about why you're making that point to the patient and how that is setting them up for a second visit.
Yeah, it's a twofold. One is, you know, that a little bit of that psychology, right? To get them, you know, everybody wants what they can't have. There's that part. And the second part is I hear a lot of you guys are integrative, right? You cannot be integrative if you make that decision in that room on the day one. You have to collaborate with the other providers that you have. Like you mentioned, we have naturopaths, we have a doctor, nurse practitioner, we have a clinical nutritionist, the chiropractors, the PhD in health behavior and epidemiology. Everyone collaborates. Everyone has a role in that patient file after that day one is complete in checking things off. That chiropractor is going to do the x-ray report and let the case manager know if there's any contraindications based on x-ray, right? The medical provider is going to review all the medications, health history to make sure there aren't any contraindications for regen. And then you've got, you know, the other team members and naturopaths are going to be there as well, saying, oh, well, can we do the nutrition side? They're going to evaluate that. So it's an honest thing. We really hope we can accept you as a patient because we have to look at all that.
That's a great point. So I want to, hey, Kelly, I want to make a point. It's a dialogue that should be in everybody's case manager. Every doctor needs to be in there if you're a candidate for care. That's the key point. I want to make sure we all note that down. So, you know, we really hope you are, and if you're a candidate for care. So if you haven't written that down yet this morning, guys, this afternoon, do so. That should be in every conversation on the first visit. Let me move forward a little bit too to the doctor doing the exam here. When you have you found it in the past where your providers are talking maybe a different language than your case manager, or your case manager is talking a different language than your provider, right? So case manager to medical provider, between front desk, how disruptive can that be if that's the case? And how do you get your provider on the same page with the day one process, the day two process, matching them with what they're saying with the case manager, you know, making sure everyone's, you know, saying the same thing versus everyone's saying their own thing with the patient on that first visit.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. We've had horror stories with that where nurse practitioners used to primary care. They want to diagnose, treat, do everything in the room right then and there. One horror story was I'm sitting down with a patient for report of findings. Nurse practitioners recommended regen for their elbow. And I go through the whole spiel and say, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to take. Here's what it costs. And the patient points to their little elbow brace and said, oh, I got this elbow brace that your nurse practitioner recommended from Rite Aid. I thought that's all I needed. Why do I need to do all this? Right? Whole thing just blew apart right there.
Wow.
And so they cannot be recommending anything during that exam. We give them scripts, we do training. It's very simple what they got to do in that room. Perform orthopedics, review the file, and let the patient know that as of right now, I don't see anything from my end that would prevent you from being a candidate for care. I've seen patients just like you come here and we've been able to help them. I really hope we can accept you as a patient. That's it. They don't need to go into anything else. There's no diagnosing. There's no other, nothing.
Makes sense. And dial in their language there. Let me move the call over to Rachel for a minute. Hey, Rachel, why don't you go ahead and jump in here? I'm going to open up the floor to questions here, and we're going to keep diving into different points. Rachel, what's an objection that you've been running into, maybe you've been hitting a brick wall on, or that you've been having a difficult time either on the day one with getting the patient to engage, or on the second visit when it's time to say yes, that you want to go ahead and bring to the table here and we can discuss?
Well, you know, a lot of the patients with the economy changing the way that it is, you know, they want to go home, they want to look at their bills, they want to lay things out, they don't want to make a decision right there at the ROF. So that's been a little frustrating because we're just not used to that. It's, you know, and then, you know, also being able to get them approved for certain financing. A lot of the patients lately have been on very fixed incomes to where they can't They're like, I can't afford another payment. So if it's not covered, I just can't do it. So we've run into some of that over the past, I would say, month to 6 weeks.
Understood. More than usual, because you've been doing this for a while. Okay, so
Right.
we talked about financing options, and Dr. Gill, if there's any best practices that you've had when you're in a report, your case manager's talking to that patient, and there's the excuse of finances and the complaint of a financial objection. Then there might be getting closer to somebody who they got to work it over to really get to say yes to care. Is there something that you would always want to make sure is happening before you ever get to that point, or what are some common best practices for handling situations like that with the patient?
Yeah, one of them is making sure that you try to get their support person there during the report of findings. Because that's always the biggest objection. I need to go talk to my partner about this before I make a decision. Having them in that room is critical. And then setting up that conversation where you say, the alternative to, before you even present your plan, especially with decompression, when I show them, you see here that the space is compressed, and then I show them that model where you squeeze it and the disc pops out. I say, okay, so outside of here, what they're going to do is they'll go in surgically and they'll cut that piece of the disc out. That's called a discectomy. And then when that doesn't work, is what I say, they're going to go in and then they're going to cut this piece of the bone out, the lamina. That's called the laminectomy. When that doesn't work, they're going to put rods and screws in this. And by that third point, the patient's already stopping me from talking. They're like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I don't want that. And I'm saying, good, okay. Well, let's talk about the option that's going to prevent you from having to do that.
I want everybody to take a listen to that language for a second. Not if, when. Not if, when. That's a key point in language. Because the patient knows, they just don't want to look at it. So when you really show them and say, when this happens, this is the typical surgical, this is a typical, prognosis of what's going to occur. And here's an alternative option. So it's getting them to understand really the fear of worsening of what's going to be happening towards the future, and not pulling back on that. It's a really key point. Can you also talk a little bit about, let's say it's a decompression ROF. You don't have to go into the entire script, but maybe you can give us some high level bullets for those that do decompression. What are some things you absolutely have to say when you're doing a report of findings with a decompression patient, similar to what you're just discussing here?
Yeah. So if it's a lumbar or cervical, put up their lateral x-ray and then show the model and say, we're looking at it just like this. Okay, you see here, these boxes you see on the x-ray are the vertebrae, just like this model. In between each of the two vertebrae, there's a disc that creates a space for the nerve to exit. Now, you can't see a disc on an x-ray, but you can see the space. If the space is decreased, disc is compressed. Okay, now the patient's on the same page. And then they start looking at the x-ray themselves like, oh, that's compressed right there before you even get to it. You're like, absolutely. And it doesn't take much height loss for this to happen, where I take the model and I show them where it's irritating the nerve. And then that's where I get into that. And then they cut the disc, laminectomy, and all that stuff. And then we get into showing them the disc is avascular, so it doesn't have its own blood supply and has a pump mechanism. And that's how it gets its water. It's 86% water, I believe. And then I say, I show them how the decompression table works. You see how it's going to pump, it's going to pull and release, set weights and times and all of that. And it starts making sense to them. And they automatically understand, okay, this is different than an inversion table. This is different than traction. This is what I need. And it all starts to fall into place. And then at the very end, before you start getting into finances, you ask them those 3 questions. One is, would you physically be able to make it into the office 3 times a week? You get that objection out of the way. Second is scale 1 to 10. What's your motivation? We don't take anybody below an 8. Okay. Reason being is your motivation is directly proportionate to your success, and your success is directly proportionate to our reputation. If you don't get better, you're not going to say nice things about us. And you already saw we have 300 plus 5-star Google reviews. We have a great reputation in the community. We want to keep it that way. Third question is, will you be good and compliant with instructions? And that leaves it on a little bit of a laugh. They're like, yeah, I'll try. Yeah, I'll be good. And then you put, and I actually write 1, 2, 3, and I put check marks next to all 3 of those. And then I give them that page. It's got the decompression diagram on the front of it, and they get to keep it. And then we get into financials after that. So now they're on board. You've got them to commit to those 3 questions. They've seen everything. They don't want the surgery. You've gone through their why and ruin. We can talk more about that in a second if you like. And the finances just flow at that point. And you present them with confidence. The key thing that I see clinics that are doing cash is we get afraid. I was there too. I was afraid to present finances. I see the patient's demographic. I see they're retired, on a fixed income, Social Security, all that stuff. we still have to present the plan that we think is going to be best for them. We cannot assume that they won't be able to afford it. I've gotten bitten in the butt so many times assuming that the patient can't afford it.
That's a great point. Can you talk about when the patient leaves and they say it's money or it's this, whatever the objection might be, and they don't say yes to care, they don't commit. If you had to look at the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whether it's you or your case manager team, like what did you find were the top reasons patients weren't getting to a yes? If you had to just, again, summarize 3 years of presenting cash-based services, and you had to summarize them in a couple of categories, a couple of buckets. What were those main parts of the process earlier on that those boxes didn't get checked?
Yeah, the number one is always not having the support person there. That is always the number one reason for them not committing to care on that report of findings day. Number two, yeah, they don't have money. And so you try to get some sort of commitment from them at that point. If you have the ability to take them on in insurance covered services, great, we used to do that. We would say, okay, well, your insurance covers this part. Here's the copays. We can set you up on a payment plan for that. Let's get going on that. That'll give you some relief right now. We take them on. Now we're so busy and backed up. We're probably 2-3 weeks out to start somebody on decompression, and Cairo's fully backed up. We don't take them. We say, we try to, if they want chiropractic only, that's covered. We refer them across the street. There's a chiropractor. But going back to the main point, we get some sort of commitment of when should we follow up with you. And so if it's I need to go home and think about it, great. It's Monday. Would Friday be a good day for us to give you a call? Yeah, that should be enough time. Okay, what time Friday? Cheryl will give you a call. Noon. Great. I write down on the bottom of the slip, and then that goes in the follow-up section. And then they get a phone call on Friday, and they get put in a whole follow-up tracking spreadsheet that we have. And so if they're not committing that first day, we try to set up a follow-up day and time for a phone call. Or if it's just completely not going to work, then we put DNQ FIN. That means does not qualify financially.
Understood. Okay, that's really good. So support person is big, and that's how you frame it with the person on the first visit, the importance of having the support person there. Why do you guys frame it as a support person versus having your spouse here?
Yeah, because you don't want to assume, right? It could be a widow or something, and nowadays you can't say wife or husband. We just stick with support person. And a lot of times these elderly patients, it's a child, a kid. It could be their kid or grandkid even. You see that all the time. I had 2 sisters in the room the other day. The sister was a support person. So you never know who their person is.
Makes sense. Perfect. Good. Well, I'm hanging out with you guys today in Rochester, New York. And so I'm going to go to one of my neighbors here in Cutchin there, Dr. Kevin Holton. I'll call on you here. The floor is yours. If you want to jump in with any questions for Dr. Gill to keep the conversation moving in today's mastermind. I'll just unmute your microphone one more time there.
All right, I guess one of the things that we run into, everybody runs into, is the time issue. We are close to New York. Some people work in the city. They're not home till 7 o'clock at night. We close at 7, and sometimes, and we're no longer open on Saturdays right now. So sometimes there's a time issue, and they say, oh, I can only get there twice a week, or I can only get there once a week. That one we run into a lot.
Yeah. So that's where those 3 questions come in, where you ask them, that's number 2, or number 1, can you physically make it into the clinic 3 times a week? And then if they can make it twice a week, then you as a doc have to make that call of, you think they're going to get better if they're doing the decompression program twice a week. Some patients will, it just takes a lot longer, right? The care gets extended. The best results are 3 times a week. And that's what you have to explain to them. And they're going to have to make that decision or prioritize their health. To take time off work. We do FMLA paperwork, off work and stuff, adjusting their schedule. All those resources are now available, and in a lot of states are federally mandated. Washington State is one of them, where their employers are required to give them that time off if they fill out that paperwork. And we do it all the time.
It's a great solution. Love that. Perfect. Good. Let me go to Dr. Joe Taylor. Dr. Joe Taylor, fellow 7th Division member here. I'll let you jump in right now while you got some time before patients. Questions or anything you want to comment on or ask Dr. Gill on right now regarding the closing process, the day 1, day 2 process regarding cash services.
Not necessarily a question. I'm picking up some pointers and actually getting busy on creating some information. I like the 3 questions as well as the models and actually having visuals of what the table looks like and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of taking some notes and tweaking our actual decompression reported findings. So I don't have a question, but I'm just soaking up the good information right now.
Great, yeah, because the patient has no idea what decompression is. They have no idea what the table looks like. They're afraid.
Yeah.
When you initially explain it, they're thinking in their head a medieval torture device that pulls you in both directions.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So I'm actually busy on my computer right now trying to put together a little one pager. So I appreciate that information.
That's awesome. Dr. Gill, could you repeat the paperwork you mentioned regarding employees that are federally mandated giving time off?
Yeah, it's FMLA or Paid Family Medical Leave Act, all those different things. Washington State has their own, and then FMLA is a federal one too. And so when you fill that out for the patient, their employer cannot penalize them for taking time off for that reason. Their job is federally protected when that form is filled out.
That's good. Perfect. Okay, let me go to Dr. Scott Taylor and or the team at Southwest family there, Lindsay, Mallory, Chelsea. I'll let either one of you guys take the floor here for a second. As case managers, questions, objections you're having a hard time getting through. This is your opportunity to pick Dr. Gill's brain.
Well, one that I came in with, I missed part of it because I was in another meeting, so I apologize if you guys already answered this question. But when you're presenting a plan and say it's chiropractic, trigger point, decompression, things like that, how do you handle those patients that pick and choose what they want to do? Like they're like, yeah, I'll come to 3 times a week. You handle the schedule, but they're like, it's the trigger point that they want, or it's the DME that they want. How do you handle those patients that pick and choose out of the doctor's recommendation?
That's a great question. Yeah. So this. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Got it. I was just going to say, so whether that happens, and I'm going to open up the floor for anybody else as well, but or what about like a patient who starts to try to dictate their own care, whether they're picking and choosing, or they might at certain parts of the process, they want to pick and choose versus following the lead that you guys have, the services that you guys offer. If there's not a direct answer to that objection, then also maybe what are things that you're doing to ensure that isn't happening earlier on in the process?
Yeah. So I just thought of the answer to that. Okay, perfect. The reason why we don't get a lot of that is how we frame the lead up in the day 2 before we present what they're going to be doing. And so everyone should have this poster in your report of findings room, the patch versus fix. They don't have it on Amazon. You got to buy it from some UK website, but Google patch versus fix poster, look at images and find it, and show them that in the beginning, in the probably 1/3 of the report of findings, and say, take a look at that picture up there. And they look at it, it says patch versus fix. What we're talking about today is going to be the fix option. No amount of massage, physical therapy, acupuncture, chiropractic, any trigger point injection by themselves individually is going to fix this problem. It's going to be a patch, and that's what you've been doing. Combining all of those things in the program that we're presenting today is going to be the fix route. And like, I want that. Because I bet you almost all the patients you guys see have been all around, been trying to get care for years, and you're their last resort, right? And so they've tried all these different things. They've been to a chiropractor already. And that's why when you say, when they start saying, well, I don't want chiropractic, I already did that. Well, I don't want physical therapy, I already did that. You have to combine all those things together to get that result. Oh, thank you, Ethan. Yep, that's it.
This is the one, right?
Yep, that's the one. We got one for every
That's
single
great.
report of finding room needs that poster.
You guys could just Google patch or fix poster on Google, or I think it's Patient Media that handles this one as well. It's one of their products, patientmediauk.com. Great one. Really good.
Somebody should
okay, I think TV needs to offer these by the end of this call.
You guys should, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's great. Okay, let me go over to one of our other Dr. Schwartz. He's got his hand raised, ready to go. My man, go ahead.
So, question for you in terms of pain patients, because we'll frame it, we're trying to do corrective care versus just pain care. And it's the way that we learn the report of findings. It's fairly effective. And then every now and then you get the patient who just is, nope, I want pain care. And that's what they want. Will you turn them away? And by the way, you have some type of horrible beast behind you. I think it might be a cat. I'm very worried about you.
Right, exactly. Pain care, interesting. They come in pain, right? They're in pain. And so let's say somebody is having migraines, right? And they want to get rid of their migraines. I ask them how, or whatever pain it is, how many times a week, how many times a month do you get this episode? And then how long does it last? And I said, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. Our goal is to get that migraine down to maybe 2 to 3 times a year, and it'll last maybe an hour. And like, that would be amazing. Okay, yeah, I want that. So
Okay. You're making an assumption that they're actually coming to you and wanting what you're offering. So my question for you is, somebody comes into your office and says, I don't want what you're offering. What I want is what I want. I have lower back pain. I'd like you to adjust me until my lower back pain is gone, and then I'm gone. And I'll come back when and if I have lower back pain again. Do you take that type of patient, or are you just literally going to say, you know what, it's not the right place for you, and you turn the patient away? Okay, that's perfectly fine. I was just wondering.
Yeah, if that person walks into our office today, they'd be turned away. They would, we'd probably cancel the new patient exam and refund their $47 they paid. That's our protocol. If they don't want to, some patients do, they'll come in and they say, I don't want an exam, I just want to get cracked. They get upset that they're not going to get adjusted that day. Our team is trained, if patient is getting upset, they're not getting adjusted that day, we don't want them as a patient. Not worth our time, send them away. So we send them right across the street to another chiropractor. He'll adjust them same day.
Okay.
So he'll charge them all for the exam and everything. I think he charges $250 for an exam, another $50 for their adjustment. So $300 for them to get, quote unquote, cracked that day. Go for it. And they're not going to get fixed.
And I think that's to your point. If I can just second what you're saying, I mean, you do have someone you can refer them to, right? You're not just saying, sorry, get out. No, it's like, this is the right option for you. It's across the street. This is what he can do for you today. And they're leaving to somebody that has what they want.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I think right now, like with the, and let me just, if I could dive into one other quick point, because you guys, the schedule is so full right now, you guys have so many sources of new patients. You have a marketer who's, handling all of your lead funnels from the ads that you're doing. They're out there, obviously, doing activities in the community. You have referral programs. You have a great referral network with the services you guys offer. So the schedule is full enough to where you really have to have patients that fit in with your model.
Yeah, and you don't want that person getting upset, leaving you a bad review, or telling other people that because that person is the one that's going to say, that sounds like a salesy place, it's like a used car dealership. They tried to sell me this $5,000 package when all I wanted to do was get adjusted. That's what that person's going to say if you do take them as a patient.
That's a good point. Let me go to Dr. Gary Arthur, fellow 7th Division member, joining us from Laguna Beach, California. Dr. Arthur, good to see you.
Good to see you. Really valuable information that you're sharing. And I didn't know if you knew about the 3D consultation. I'm going to turn this so you can see the title. It's a 4-minute spinal decompression therapy video, and I pay a small amount. It's called 3D consultation right there. Okay. And so that is one thing that's helped once I explain it. And I like your 3 questions that you ask them, and you're basically qualifying them if this is a fit even before you talk money. Yep. My scenario is since I believe in postural restoration, and that if you want to stop the spine from continuing to degenerate, you have to fix the postural distortions and what is driving Wolff's Law to cause calcification and mineralization into the old scar tissue from, what we learned in Guyton in the 4 phases of healing after an injury. And these are things that we're looking at from layers and layers and layers, 50, 80 layers of traumas ever since the day they were born. So I will usually put together a 30-visit decompression program with all the ancillary things and some supplements, and even do 2 levels if it's cervical and lumbar. I say if you want to be proactive. But I think where sometimes people get stuck is that Gary Rademacher mentioned to me that if you're trying to educate the patient about what's after this initial phase of decompression is that postural correction could take up to 2 years on a highly degenerative patient. And also, I'm not going to put a year plan in front of you because I don't know who my miracle cases are going to be. I only take them season by season, basically, like, afterwards. Maybe I do 3 12-visit protocols with checkpoints along the way and re-X-ray again. I'll take an X-ray again at the end of that. And across the board, if patients are going to do their home care exercises, we make sure that, I'd rather not get started with you if you're not going to do your home care work, because this is a team approach. But I think it's that cell, the second cell, that if I haven't framed enough that the long-term correction is fixing the posture. So there's a little bit of a disconnect, and you think about, now they're thinking in their head, wow, that first plan of care was $8,000 for 30 visits with decompression and everything else you're doing. Now they start looking at, whoa, this could be a real expensive thing. So I guess I'm looking for maybe some communication to build value of fixing their posture and their range of motion and making sure their core is strong. That it's a longer project, and building the value to be able to drop numbers. I just basically don't give them numbers beyond that, because I don't know how quickly you're going to come along. Some of my patients do their home care exercises twice a day, so it really depends on you. So what thoughts do you have regarding that?
So what would be the specific question you got there?
Well, I think it's setting the tone for corrective care that could be beyond, like if they think they're going to correct their spine in the first 30 visits of doing decompression and adjusting and everything, it's not going to happen.
Okay. Yeah.
In 30 visits. So I'm trying to set the table for what's after that, because we got the disc and the neurological fixed in that 30 visit protocol, but now was where we got to change tissue patterns and restore posture so that this doesn't just come right back again a couple months down the road.
Got it. So in our 30 visit program, after the first 12, we add rehab, our version of physical therapy, to the last 18 of it. And then we give them their home exercises at the end to kind of go off and do on their own. We don't keep them after that 10 week if they're stable, if they're 80+% improved. We put them on maintenance chiropractic at that point.
I see. All right. So it's not really, you're not a postural correction type of model. You're more of a disc, acute pain, and do that 30 visit and then move on from there.
And then move on from there. We do the corrective care CBP, the CBP protocol for the cervical curve correction. Yeah.
Oh, you do. So then that would be it. Then you'd put together what, another 3-month plan for the next phase?
We add it in, and we do it in conjunction with the decompression. If they're doing cervical decompression and they have a reverse lordosis, they're on the corrective care while doing decompression.
Right. And one thing, were you aware, since you know a little bit about CBP, I was listening to Paul Check, and they were talking about postural muscles are slow twitch muscles. And in order to train them, you can't be doing reps with your prolordotic. It has to be time under tension, sustained for up to 2 minutes to change a postural muscle. You're aware of that too?
Yeah. Do you have the two-way track device from CBP?
No, I've got the Denerol and the prolordotic.
Yeah, we put them in the two-way track. It's like strapped into a roller coaster is what it feels. You're sitting.
Okay.
Everything.
Two-way track from CBP.
Yeah, they're held down. There's weights in the front. There's weights in the back, and it pulls them forward and back at the same time. And we start with weight only in the front in the beginning. Probably, like you said, 2 minutes, and we work our way up to eventually getting up to 20 minutes on that.
Wow. Okay. So, Ethan, did you have any other thoughts on that cell down the road so that they're not overwhelmed with finances, but it sets the table to do postural correction after the decompression?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, one thing that you can always do is patients are much more willing to say yes when you build trust down the line. And you have trust in they know I can trust you. And I would say that as long as what they're going to be moving on to isn't going to be more expensive than the first option, like patients are usually willing to move on to something that is less of a financial commitment after they've made an initial commitment to you. So they've said yes in the beginning, and then usually the next step should be, unless it's handling a specific condition. So if they came in for the migraines in the neck, but then now you have a protocol that can help them with their need. It might be regen. That could be more expensive, totally different condition. But if you're still continuing on the same pattern, handling, getting better results with the same condition, it would just making sure that whatever you're offering next is a lower price point. Otherwise, you might get a little resistance there.
Okay.
Let me go. Yep. Let me go to another question here. Dr. Gill, I got one quick question from the case managers here, and there's some specific questions in the chat I want to get to. So about half the audience right now are practice owners and clinicians, as you've heard so far. And we have the other half that are case managers. So non-clinical doctors, non-DCs, non-naturopaths, but case managers that are handling parts of the day one, handling parts of the day two on behalf of the doctor. You've had kind of some ups and downs as a manager, as a practice owner regarding having the right people in that role. Currently, you have Cheryl, who is just so good with patient enrollment and case management and working with new patients. For the case managers that are watching right now, right? They might say things like, "I'm not a doctor. Why would they listen to me? I'm not this. So why would they? They usually respect the doctor more." Or, they're not getting. They're all having to think about it. For the non-doctors, what advice would you give for a case manager who's kind of moving up the ranks and kind of on a professional growth curve right now to becoming not just a master closer, but really good with patients and optimizing the patient enrollment process? What advice would you give them as some base pointers?
Yeah, that's for me, right?
Yes, Dr. Gill, go ahead.
Okay. First, you've got to be intimately aware of every type of treatment that you do in the office, how it works, which patients it's helped, all that. Know every single service inside and out, and believe in it. You have to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, you shouldn't be in the office. Or you shouldn't be a case manager. You've got no business being there if you don't believe in the care that you do and that it works. You've helped patients. If you're new in the clinic, read every single Google review for that clinic. Okay. Watch every single video testimonial on the website. Okay. That way you can point patients to those. You can say, oh, if you're getting some pushback, say, oh, I've got this testimonial from Mary here. She was just like you. Let me pull it up real quick, play that, get them re-engaged, and then go back to resuming your report of findings. It's that confidence. Cheryl, our case manager, she believes in our care so much. She's had regen on her knee in Mexico. She's seen patients. She's seen the surgery side of what happens if you go the other route. And she'll just tell patients, like, what do you got to think about? You said you don't want surgery. This is the only option. You've got to do this. She's that passionate about it. You got to have that passion, that drive, that fire, and that patient will see it. And especially if you're not the doctor, you're not the owner, it's much easier for you to do that close as a case manager. Like, if this person believes in it, it's got to work, and they're not even the owner.
That's a really good point. So with that being said, let me go over to Jennifer. I know you had your case manager there a minute ago. She might have to go see patients, but I'll let you go ahead and jump in with any questions or any roadblocks you're running into on the day one, day two process.
Yeah, she actually just ran in to go do a report of findings. So I'm like, go, here's your 3 questions.
Yes. Awesome.
But no, we're actually a lot of good nuggets on here, and I've been just writing down a lot as they've been talking. We just created the whole day one script, and we're like practicing every day. And now I'm working on creating that day 2 script for her. So, and overcoming those objections. And we're just trying to continue on from like the training she did with you, Ethan, so that we're constantly reinforcing it and knowing those scripts by heart and how to explain everything to the patient.
That's awesome. I love it. Great. Well, let me move the conversation over. I know this is a day one, day two mastermind, but Dr. Gill, we did talk a little bit about before the session today about how vital your marketer is, how vital Abby is to the front end of the funnel for your practice. And with your main clinic seeing over 20 new patients a week plus, and your other clinics getting full as well with new patients. Some, I think, practice owners say, well, I need to make enough money to then have somebody get me more new patients, and they put the cart before the horse. Yeah. And what do you say? First off, Abby's been on the Zoom sessions before, and a couple months ago, and she's spoken and shared her best practices. How important is Abby, your marketer, to this equation of all the expansion you guys have been happening and alongside with the companies you're outsourcing and using to drive in leads and new patients too?
Well, that's kind of a silly question because she's so vital. You know that. You could not do it without somebody like that. You gotta have a dedicated person handling your leads that knows your clinic inside and out. She started as a laser tech, then did rehab. She's done every single position in the office. She tried to quit because she was moving in with her boyfriend over an hour away, and we created a remote marketing position to keep her because she was that valuable. And she's worth her weight in gold. I mean, it's phenomenal. The things that she does, the marketing, the media that she creates as well, all the TikToks and posts and everything. And then she communicates with all the marketing companies, handles all of that, takes it all off our plate, does all the follow-ups with patients. I mean, she's scheduling 20 plus, like you said, 20 plus new patients a week. It's amazing. And I've heard so many docs at TBA and seminars say, I just don't have money to market. Well, if you don't find it, you'll never have money. Right? You got to find the money to market. That's the first thing. And there are ways to market without money too. There's promos you can run in the office. We do this every quarter now. It's a refer a friend raffle. You can get a 55 inch Samsung TV from Costco for less than $400, usually like $350, sometimes even less than $300 if it's on sale. Put that up at the office and give everyone a raffle ticket, 5 raffle tickets if they refer a friend. They have a little slip and they write their friend's name. You say, is there anybody that you think would benefit from our services? And then we say, please, could you give them a call or text them and let them know that you gave us their info and we're going to reach out. That costs you very minimal to do that. Also incorporate Google reviews, video testimonials, allow them to earn more tickets every time they come in. If they check in on social media, give them a ticket. They leave you a Google review, give them 10 tickets. Give you a video testimonial, give them 10 tickets. However you want to set it up, whatever you're needing at the time. And we do that every quarter.
So to your point, you can get started with little to no cost. And there's, again, between what you just mentioned and there's hours and hours of webinars on different themes you guys can use and ways to approach it and ways to engage patients, but there's really no excuse, right? And so you would say to the docs that are watching that maybe on payroll, I don't know if I should get a marketer, that marketing person, if it's the right person that's trained well. And just like Cheryl, our good case manager, is just as passionate for your services, is a big part of not only managing the companies that you're using at your outsourcing for lead generation, but also outside activities, internal events, content, all kinds of promotions.
Yeah. I mean, all the doctors here, what would you pay to get more hours in a day? Right? You all probably feel like there's not enough hours in a day. You can buy hours. Get a marketing person. They'll take all that stuff off your plate that you're doing.
And then talk about a bit about that. We're getting towards the end here, and maybe from 2 angles you can attack this question. For the one angle is for the practice owner. How important is it for how important is it for them to get to phase 2? And then my second part of that is what kind of opportunity for the employees that are on here? What kind of opportunity do they have if their doctor wants to move into phase 2? Meaning, what kind of advancement career opportunities do they have if they step up? And then also, again, why is it vitally important that doctors focus on getting to phase 2? What opportunities does that provide them for the growth of the practice?
Yeah, I mean, phase 2 is the only way to go to be able to scale, grow. All the sayings and quotes. If your business isn't making money without you there, you don't own a business. You own a job, right? We want to be business owners. We want to help more people. And the only way to do that is to yourself and expand. Focus on how to better your protocols. If you don't want to open a second clinic, great, no problem. Add more therapy services, train your providers, be able to focus on working on your business, not in your business. And then the second part, the opportunities for the team members, growth with leadership roles, right? We've got managers in place, clinic manager, production manager, our case managers. They all run the clinic now, and they take such pride in having that leadership. And we send them all to TBA trainings, management basics, marketing courses, all those different things, and they're loving it. They're gaining skills that they're going to have for the rest of their lives, and they're going to stay with you forever if you treat them right and give them that.
That's awesome. A vital necessity for all parties. That's great. Everyone wins when you as a practice owner get to phase 2. Not only you win when you do better, your practice can grow, but also every team member here watching this can grow and expand their career, make more money, serve more people, take on more levels of responsibility. We're getting towards the end here. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We got about a few minutes left. Let me open up the floor for any other questions, objections, You can feel free to jump on in. I'm going to go to, and Dr. Fortunato, go ahead, sir.
Dr. Gill, you mentioned several times about confidence there. You know, when you talk to some of these patients who want to do things their way, and then you kind of just boom, tell them, hey, this is the way we do it. Do you find that many of them change their minds?
Yeah, if you're confident, they're there to hear what you're, like, you know, giving them as a recommendation for care. You're the expert. They came to you. And so you have that confidence and you tell them, you know, do it your way. It's just not going to work. I'll say that to them too. I'm like, well, yeah, you can do that, but you've already been doing that. That's a definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. That's part of our script and decompression too. I'll give you guys that little nugget. So if you're doing a decompression program, 30 visits, we do a re-exam at 12, 24, and 30 visits. And we say at that 12, before I go into that part, I say, one question that you should ask me is, what if I get to 10 weeks and I don't get better? And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good question. Because I'll say, do you have any questions? I'll say, no, I'll give you a question you should ask. And I say, well, that's not going to happen, because at the 12 visit mark, we're going to do an exam. We're going to sit down and we're going to do all the testing again, and we're going to make sure that you're getting better. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If you're not getting better at that 12 visit mark, we're going to stop. We're going to send you out for an MRI, for the testing, or for the specialist, and see what's going on and see what needs to change. And they feel good about that, that it's not just 30 visits, hope for the best. We'll see what happens at the end.
So there's the emphasis on the exam.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's key.
Very good. Thank you.
That's great. Dr. Matt, go ahead and jump on in, sir.
Hey, so I'm going to be hopefully hiring my first case manager sometime soon. I'm looking for somebody, but other than putting them through the ROF course and like closing courses and stuff, how long do you think it takes to get someone trained enough to let them loose? And also, like, what kind of in-office training might you do? Like, are they following, like, if you were hiring your very first one for the first time, would you have them follow you around? The problem I'm running into right now is I'm pretty busy, like, seeing patients. So I'm not even I don't even always feel like I have enough time to do everything that I would want a case manager to do. So my worry is bringing them on and just like actually taking the time to train them right and everything like that. I don't know, just kind of like the first person jitters, I guess, figuring out how to do it right.
Yeah. So don't worry about that, because you won't get it right the first time. We probably had like 20 different ones that we had to go through before we finally landed on our rock star. It's a process. We went back and forth. We first avoided using the word sales. We said, all you're doing is recommending care. And then they all said, this is a sales position, I don't want it. And they all quit. So don't be afraid to use the word sales. You are going to be selling, and sales, we think it's a bad word, but it's not. If you haven't read Grant Cardone's Sell or Be Sold, that's a really good book. He talks about that. And so training the case manager, yes, TBA courses are essential, and you've got to do that as well with them. But following you in your report of findings and learning you, how you speak to a patient, what your passion is, how you operate, how you run your clinic, they need to mimic that. They need to know, when is it okay to discount things? What type of clinic are you, and how do you serve the community, and your heart and your passion? That's what you want to show them. Okay, that you hire for heart. I think TBA trains on that too. Everything else you can train. You got to have a person whose heart is in the right place and they're motivated, they can communicate properly, and the rest can be easy.
Awesome. Perfect.
Does that answer the question, or
Well, I guess a time frame, I guess, was that partially answered it, but also like, how long do you think it takes to get somebody? If you found the right person, how long would you expect them?
Yeah, if it's an ideal fit, I'd say within 90 days, they should be good to start taking on some cases. And you give them some easy ones. You give them easy ones in the beginning. You sit down and you review the file with them. I did this, so for at least 90 days, yeah. She would come in, she would bring the file, I would show her exactly what we're gonna do. And then I started transitioning and asking her, hey, what would you recommend for care for this one? And that's how we started training. And then slowly she took them, I gave her one easy ones. I said, okay, this one's a straightforward one. Why don't you go ahead and do this one without me and let me know how it goes? And so it's a slow transition.
So in the beginning, they're just kind of taking notes, sitting there, and you just gradually start handing them off more and more as you feel comfortable with them.
Yeah, so you're going to be quizzing them. You're going to say, what do you think we should do with this patient? You get a read on them, and if they're giving you the right answers, then you feel confident handing it over to them. In the beginning, right? These are your babies. You don't want to give them away to somebody to mess them up. That's how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. That answers it actually. Thank you.
And great question. I want to jump in on that and just give a secondary answer to that for everybody else. So this applies to Dr. Matt. Great. If it applies to everybody else, great too. If the volume of work isn't there right away, then they should be definitely padded and cross-trained in other areas. So they can absolutely be on the rehab floor. They can be running the front desk. They could be scheduling new patients. They could be doing some marketing. Have them busy with other roles at the same time. If the volume of shadowing isn't there in the beginning, and while that builds up until they're obviously competent and roll with that too. So the more cross trained they are, I think the more confident they'll be in their role too.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I think that was a quick 1 hour, Dr. Gill. We could probably keep talking for hours right now. This is awesome. I don't want to, if it's okay with you, if we have another couple minutes, I don't want to leave anybody's questions left unasked or unmentioned. So if anything popped up for anybody else here, guys, feel free to jump on in. Any other questions from Dr. Joe, Jennifer, Deep, Dana? Team of Goodman Chiropractic. Yep.
I'll mention another point about the case manager. So Cheryl, she came from a aesthetic sales background. So that was just an easy one. And so, Doc, if you can find somebody who's done aesthetic sales, that's going to be a good fit.
It's a really good point. Yeah, the aesthetic sales are big. If there are weight loss programs or for a weight loss clinic, that's another good one too. Because it's similar to your business enough to where you're not picking up a person who's in sales, but disrelated completely to your business. But I think would be very appropriate for the model that you have. That's good. Awesome. Good. Any other questions? Hey, Dr. Morris, good to see you, sir. Murfreesboro in the house. Great. Awesome, guys. Okay, well, that kind of concludes our discussion today. I hope you guys had a chance to take some great notes. The main thing, me and Dr. Gill, our intention today was really to make sure to get this, and one thing that can make a difference. And Dr. Gill, maybe you could touch on that as we wrap up the last few seconds. I think you just said that all you wanted to do is make sure everyone can leave with one nugget that they can put into practice, and that one nugget can make the biggest difference, correct?
Yep. Absolutely.
So guys, you don't have to implement everything. If you feel like the process needs to be improved in the office, improve it. But I hope today you guys are able to take one or two things that could change the direction and trajectory of your day ones and day twos this afternoon and here for this week and beyond. So with that being said, I want to thank Dr. Gill once again as our special guest today for making the time and volunteering some of his time to help and serve the Business Academy community. Every single week we'll be here at Tuesday at 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern for our virtual mentorship sessions. Next week will be focused around the front desk and becoming our front desk rock stars. So make sure your office managers and front desk staff are here for that. We'll take questions, concerns, and keep the training going. Otherwise, we'll be in Clearwater for 7th Division here in a couple weeks, 22nd and 23rd. And we'll be hanging out with Dr. Matt Alexander in Livermore, California, just in the Bay Area for our July event. We'll be in California for a 4-day training, as well as our workshop happening there. Cindy will put the links in the chat box, so you guys can also find that information online as well. So thank you once again, Dr. Gill. Appreciate you guys. Go close some patients and get them to yes faster and more effectively. And let's go ahead and serve our community. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.